Savitri through the sestet, the symbol dawn, section 2. It has 3 sestets in it, 2.7, 2.17 and 2.33. Savitri knows that 1 year after the marriage, Satyavan is to die. She has the knowledge of the future with her, and she keeps that knowledge entirely to herself, because logically she can hold it entirely to herself in her soul. She has that capacity, that ability to hold the knowledge of the future with her. In the ordinary cases, for the common man, not to know the future is an act of supreme grace. We are fortunate that the future is kept hidden from us. We are also fortunate that the past too is unknown to us. It is grace that the future is kept hidden from us. But for the prepared soul, it brings the power that can change the future itself. A prepared soul can change the future itself. Savitri has that power. Savitri can change the future. But Savitri has to hide that future, the knowledge of that future, even from those whom she loves, from her husband, from her parents-in-law, from the great rishis and sages in the hermitages. She has to keep that hidden from everybody. To keep that knowledge hidden from everybody is an occult necessity. She must keep it hidden. There should not be the least interference, not any, not a bit, not at all. There should not be any trace of human element in it. It can spoil the deep work she will be doing. If people come to know, they can spoil the work Savitri would be doing. But in the pragmatics of things, it is she who alone can dissolve the calamitous future. The calamitous future, it is she who can eliminate, who can dissolve, who can remove, who can dismiss. What is fated, it is she alone who can change it, abolish what stands in the way of her work. She has to dissolve death. Death, who has his birth in the void. She has to transform him by dissolving the power which sustains him. Dissolving the power which has given birth to death. It is that which Savitri has to dissolve. How was Savitri going to achieve it? How was this going to happen? How was she going to win victory over the power that snatches away her love? How is she going to win victory over death? who is going to take away love from her? Of course, it cannot be because of the anguish of the mind. It cannot be the anguish of the heart. It is the voiceless call of the body, not mind, not heart, but the voiceless call of the body that is going to make Savitri rise to the occasion. The voiceless call, the mute call of the body. It is the physical that is going to heighten the issue. It is summoned to her body's call. This has to happen. The physical pain only, it is that which has the power to urge a strong soul to ready for the occasion. Not the mental, not the vital, but the physical. That is the fire test. That is Agni Pariksha. Savitri has to enter into that Agni Pariksha, into the fire test. For Savitri, the body's voiceless call has come. She receives it. She receives the call. And she responds to it. In the presence of Savitri, the physical nature has become responsive. She perceives the doors opening out. The physical nature perceives the doors opening out. Doors for the greatness to step in. Time for that has come. The house of nature feels an unseen sway. Lights darken rooms get lighted. In that light, Savitri sees the centrality of earth and love and doom. Savitri sees the centrality of earth and love and doom. Centrality of the ancient struggle which has now got to be decided at the destined place and at the destined hour. They are standing like giant wrestlers. Earth and love and doom, they're standing like giant wrestlers. Things have advanced the point for the greatness to enter in. And the issue has got to be now settled. These wrestlers, born of inconscience, in the context of the absolute last nothingness, the seedable void, must meet at the seed to flower out. These wrestlers must meet for the seed to flower out. The struggle is going to be a do or die battle. Earth and love and doom. The struggle is going to be a do or die battle. The old disputants are poised to fight out the original question, the problem question put to life at the very beginning of time. The deadlock has to be broken, the impasse cleared, the block standing in the way of progress removed. Things coming from the original void must be emptied out. The dire debate should not become stalemate. The three goddesses born from the inconscient had to wake up. The three goddesses, earth and love and doom, born from the inconscient, they had to come to the wrestling pit and settle the matter there in the pit, in the list of fate. These disputants are there right from the beginning. They are there from the beginning of the evolutionary creation and manifestation. Earth is the mad focus for concentrating all effort, a significant center of evolutionary manifestation that must start from the inconscience. The divine love, out of his absolute love, has stationed himself in the void in order that things happen, in order that things begin, things unfold. The Supreme Being plunged into the knot in order to be many. He was alone and he wanted to be many. He wanted companions. He wanted to be many. Bahusyam. He chose this path to the inconscient void. Now, because he is there, this being, this love, stationed in inconscience, he must die. He must die because of inconscience. That is the significant death of the being. That is the imperative of the being's death, his second death. By the first death, he occasioned the void, the inconscience. By the second and last death, he will give rise to a divine creation. He, this love in the inconscient void, naturally carry the shadow behind him, the shadow born of inconscience. He hides the shadow behind him. He hides the shadow behind him, being in inconscient. To him accompany the embodied nothingness, that is death, that is the shadow, because he is born of the inconscience. Earth and love and doom, because they are all born of inconscience. These goddess born of inconscience, there is a clash, there is a dispute, there is a struggle, because they are born of inconscience. It is this ancient quarrel, this ancient struggle, this ancient clash that is prompting Savitri to resume her unfinished work. And therefore, everything comes back to her, earth and love and doom. But what is it that prompts Savitri to resume her unfinished work? It is the pang divine, lost in the body. It is that which urges Savitri to take up the issue. Savitri has to do her work here. Savitri has to complete her unfinished task. But what is it that prompts Savitri to resume her unfinished task, her unfinished work? What is it that is instrumental? What is it that prompts her to take up the task? It is the pang divine, lost in the body, that urges Savitri to take up the issue. Pang divine wakes her up. It is not that human pang. It is not the pang of the world. It is not the pang of the creation. It is the pang of the absence of the divine. The pang is divine. The absence is divine. The pang is divine. And therefore, it is a pang or pain with a purpose. As if that pang, that pain has a purpose, has been planted with an intention. It has a purpose in the process of the inconscient manifestation. Its origin is shrouded in the profound occult, the profound inconscient void. In it lies its origin of this pang divine, and it becomes tangible in the physical. This pang divine, this godlike pain, this God of pain, he is a stone still figure. He remains unmoved. He is not touched by the offerings made to him. He is not touched by the worship offered to him. He remains unmoved. He is not touched by propitiation, by the offerings made to him. Tears wept or unwept had no effect on him. He is never appeased by the sacrifices made to him. He is never pleased. His hunger is never placable. He is implacable. Even if his mind and his ways are guessable, even if his mind and his ways could be guessed, he still remains implacable. This godlike pain guards the abyss of darkness, the abyss of doom. But he is also, in a way, the promoter, the possibilities immortal, possibilities of the immortal manifesting in the field of mortality. As he is a God, because he is a God, he is worshipped. But that worship touches him not. He remains obdurate, guarding the abyss of darkness. He is one who sees the origin of grief. But grief cannot be abolished by placating its God. Can that God of pain be propitiated? No. He is not going to be satisfied by any propitiation. Can he be eliminated? This is the question Savitri has to take up. But the God of pain is an immortal, and he cannot be destroyed. He has to be transformed. He has to be what he was, the God of bliss. The God of pain has to be transformed into the God of bliss that he was. God of bliss in manifestation. Savitri comes to this point, realizes this aspect because of the body's pain. The sense of the physical heightens the existence of this primordial ache, the deep and lingering ache in the body makes Savitri aware of the presence of God of pain. Otherwise, should not recognize, should not know it. In inert matter, in the inconscience, there is no pain. It is the feeling of the physical that awakens Savitri to the presence of the God of pain in the void. the harsh God that he is, the harshness of this God forces Savitri to realize that nothing can proceed unless he goes away, unless he is abolished, unless he is removed, unless he is transformed. Savitri comprehends this yogically. In it, her life becomes an altar and she herself a sacrifice. Nothing can be accomplished without sacrifice, without performing the yajna. And Savitri sets herself to do the yajna. And here is now the predestined known at the predestined spot in the wild forest, in the lonely forest. In it, the issue is going to be resolved. In it, that primordial love and death battle on the earth is going to be decided. The three ancient disputants, those goddesses from the dim inconscient born, have now come together. The cycles of creation are now closed on it. It is that ancient dispute which made the death of Satyavan inevitable. Satyavan, the lover of Savitri, must die. That is the luminous imperative. In the death of Satyavan is to begin the cycle of a new creation. The deathless creation in the possibilities of the transcendental spirit. The three ancient disputants arrived at the arena, but it is not for the sake of Savitri that the issue is going to be settled in the arena. Not for the sake of Savitri, the issue is going to be settled under the cosmic dome, not for Savitri, but for something else. In reality, there is no issue for her, for Savitri, none for her. The issue is connected with the soul of the earth. Things have to happen for God's chosen place, for the sake of the earth, the darling of God, earth, the darling of God. It is for her sake that things have to happen, not for the sake of Savitri. Savitri has to secure all for the soul of the earth. Savitri must do that by which love shall triumph over death. That is her mission. The task she must accomplish by taking the mortal birth. She must pick up the keen-edged weapon of conquest. She must brandish the winner's sword. She must rise like a defeatless warrior. It is in that power, in that commitment, she makes her pang a mystic poignant sword, so to win all joy, for all joy, for all, for the creation. Even as Savitri is getting ready to settle the issue on the battlefield, the great world mother arises in her. It is she who is now going to take charge of everything. The great world mother, Jagat Janani, is now in control of everything. She is now established in the heart of Savitri, in the soul of Savitri, in human Savitri. Savitri is now a flaming warrior from the eternal peaks. She is here now in her occult dynamism, in the full occult dynamism. She, the warrior goddess, in a human form, braces herself to a decisive battle. The war cry has been sounded. Savitri must smite on the face of death, the dumb absolute that was holding him from behind. From the face of death, she must strike out the dumb absolute. The moment the dumb absolute is torn, would blur the bounds of consciousness and time. In it, the everlasting day would be ushered in. The death of Satyavan, or the eternal being seated in the void, the Supreme Himself in the inconscient creation, that's Satyavan. His second and last death marks the beginning of a new new manifestation upon earth. In it, the immortal becomes deathless. Immortal becomes deathless upon earth.